Whether you're brand new to Instagram or you're a seasoned vet, having a strategy in 2021 is absolutely essential to your growth on the platform, especially given how the algorithm is working right now, which is why we have done a deep dive series on how to grow on Instagram, given what the algorithm wants in the different sections of the platform. Now, we did an overview giving you the 10 steps that I'm focused on for me and for my students and clients in 2021 for growth, and you can definitely check that one out. But in our deep dive series, we are taking an expanded and extended look at those different sections and why it really matters to make those pivots and those tweaks inside of Reels, inside of your live streaming, inside of your main feed to get to the goals that you are reaching toward. And so in this video, we are taking a part 2 deep dive look into your Reels, into IGTV, and into your live streaming on the platform, what you can be doing, how you can be tweaking that, and why it's so important to the algorithm. So let's jump in. Now, if you haven't watched our first episode about the Instagram algorithm and how it works and why it's actually working to your benefit, make sure you check out that episode. It's going to be incredibly helpful to you. But quick overview, the algorithm's job is to keep people on the platform for as long as possible so that they can run more ads, so that they can make more money. So if you're creating content that the algorithm finds to be good and people are engaging with, it's going to kick out more of your content. So the content you're creating in any section of the platform has to engage people in the way that they want to consume it at that particular time. So with the algorithm, we are working to create content that makes it happy because people are engaging to it. Remember, if they send it out to 10 people and 10 people engage, that's good content. They're going to send it to more people. But if they send it to 10 people and only one person engages, that probably suggests that it's not the best of your posts and it won't kick it out to as many people. So keep that in mind as we dive in. We know that Instagram is focusing heavily on Instagram Reels right now. It's their newest feature, which means you definitely need to be spending some time on it, but it's not quite as hard as you think. Now, I do recommend, post 3 to 5 times per week inside of your Reels, just to make sure you're getting that traction, because those get kicked out differently in the algorithm system than anything else that you are posting. So you want to make sure that it's really, really valuable content that you're sharing. Now, you can use audios, you can dance, you can lip sync, you can dub things, you can do whatever you want with the music inside of Instagram Reels, but keep in mind, you cannot be importing your own unless you have the license to use it. So do not just take your TikToks and put them on Instagram Reels, especially with that watermark. You want to make sure that you're using the licensed music inside of Instagram, and please be aware, you cannot, when you download it, also download the music and put it elsewhere because it's licensed specifically to Instagram. You cannot take it somewhere else without it being copyright infringement. So use your music, use your lip syncs, use your dubs, whatever you want, but also keep in mind you don't have to use these musical features. You do have the opportunity to just import what you are saying, what you're going to be speaking as part of a video. So you can do Reels just with audio that you are saying. I do this all the time, and it's really helpful for my educational content, but also for my entertainment content. Now, with Reels, you want to make sure that you are spending a lot of time thinking things through before you come up with your concept. You want to either educate or you want to entertain. And if you can mix the both, even better. But keep in mind, Reels is 15 to 30 seconds, and not everybody has the 30-second feature yet. And if you need information on that, I've linked those down below for you. Great resources on how to get this and what to do if you don't have it yet. But keep in mind, shorter is better when it comes to video, in any circumstance. Always keep your message as short and concise as possible, and then kick it out to your social media, whatever it happens to be. Whether it's Instagram or YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok, you want to make sure your conversation is short because we have a very short attention span. So even if you do not have the 30 seconds on Reels, I highly recommend, and the platforms, TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube right now has shorts where they are focused on shorter form content, and they have come out and said 10 to 15 seconds is what's working right now. So a lot of people stress over that 30-second reel. You shouldn't be. I know that there are some things where you absolutely have to go over that 15 seconds. I get it. But for the most part, your video should be between 10 to 15 seconds for best watch time and watch through. You want to make sure that they are short, concise, punchy, quick, and they get the point out there and they move on. If you do have something you're teaching on Reels, I want you to break it up into segments. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. It does not matter if they're broken up into sections. Give them a quick win in each, and then you can move on to the next part. But don't just give them things that they have to watch through. Make sure they're quick wins, individual little pieces of content that even if they don't see the rest of them, they can take that and implement it into whatever it is that they're doing to grow and succeed from there. So you want to make sure you're using the functions inside of Reels, and you want to make sure you're posting 3 to 5 times per week, which I know sounds daunting, but honestly, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how you can break down your content. If you're doing a video production or you're doing a blog post, if you are going to be talking about something in your main feed, turn it into a video too. You don't have to reinvent the wheel for this. Your Instagram Reels absolutely can be repurposing your content. If you have a quote graphic that works so dang well on your main feed, get on Reels and say that quote. Put words over it. Do something. You can dance to it. You can have something that goes with it, but have that quote on there. People are going to react well to that. Now, let's say you've done a tutorial. Well, speed up the footage of the tutorial that you were teaching, whether it was a blog or a video. Film yourself doing it, speed it up, and put it out there. Show a before and after. You can even get into transitions, which we know are really big on TikTok, where you are wiping your hand across a camera and changing outfits, or you're going to tap your camera lens and when you move away, you're in something else or you're in a different location. You can do those transitions and those go over really well on Instagram, but don't think you have to. You do not have to do transitions to be successful with Reels. Reels really comes down to what content you can educate or entertain on. And it's just that quick video format. It's a vertical video, so it does need to be up and down. You should not be doing anything horizontal. So if you're repurposing something that you filmed for elsewhere, it needs to be vertical. Do not do horizontal. We've learned our mistakes with IGTV. We don't do that. So make sure that you are vertical content. It's fast, it's punchy, you deliver something that means something to people, whether it's a quote, whether it's a practical tip, whether it is a sped up version of how you did something, or if it's just some word of encouragement that you are sending to people. Reels are going to be incredibly helpful for what you're doing inside of your business. And we know the algorithm is strongly pushing Reels, so now is the time to get involved with those. It's pretty easy to do, and especially once you get into the mindset of doing it, it becomes incredibly easy. You can batch create these, and I highly recommend you do. So sit down and think about what you need for the next week, 2 weeks, even a month, and film those all in one sitting. Just swap out your clothing. We talk about batch creation all the time, and you're just going to knock one out one after the next so that you have all that content. You can then put it together, put it in your drafts, and you're ready to go. You can post it whenever you need to. But you only have to set up your ring lights once. You only have to look cute, do your hair and your makeup once. You only have to be in the mindset for repeating lines or teaching things or filming things once, and then you're good to go. I love, love, love batch creation. Now, I do recommend that you film your Reels outside of the app because the camera's not so great inside of Instagram, let's be honest. So I recommend you film it inside of your phone, and then you edit it in a program like Adobe Rush. There's things like InShot. There's other things that you can do. I've got tutorials on that down below if you need help with that. And I show you on screen button for button exactly what you can and need to be doing to create these. But I definitely do my Reels, my TikToks, my other videos outside of the apps that they are being posted on. I edit them and then I import them in. Again, if you need help with Reels, I've got a tutorial on button for button how to do it linked down below. But I definitely recommend leveraging Reels. And then once you've posted your Reels, make sure you send it to your main feed. Your cover photo absolutely needs to go with your grid. Keep in mind, your grid is going to show a square. Your IG Reels will show the vertical. So it needs to be a vertical image, but the important stuff, the important content needs to be in the center because that's the section, that square that will go into your main feed grid that people will then see. So just keep that in mind as you're designing, but I've got videos on that down below for you as well. And then you want to make sure that you are pushing it to your main feed, sending it to your Instagram stories. Then you can even do something like add it to your highlights or add it to an Instagram guide to get more bang for your buck when it comes to your Reels. I cannot recommend them enough. And as always, when you're posting your caption inside of your Reels, make sure you're using those hashtags. Right now there's some debate on what works best for you, so some people are finding less hashtags actually get you more views, whereas some people are finding more hashtags get you more views, so do your research on your hashtags, test, and see what works best for you. IGTV is definitely a part of Instagram that does not get the credit it deserves. Instagram did give us a place to put longer form video content. So we know on the main feed you can have up to 60 seconds, 1 minute of footage. Anything longer than that gets kicked over to IGTV. You can do up to an hour of footage, which is really, really cool because we can put out longer form content. Now, do I recommend you do an hour long production? No, please don't do that. Keep it to about 3 to 7 minutes is usually key for most people. You can go a little longer if you're like in-depth teaching something, but shorter is better. You know, when you go to YouTube, You're looking for the shortest video possible to answer your questions or to entertain you. You do not want to be there for 2 hours, so, keep it short. Anything over a minute, you're going to be good with. I would keep it under 7 minutes, but anything in there will work just fine for you. This is vertical format content. Don't put horizontal video there. It doesn't fit with the formatting. They allow you to do it, but it doesn't work with the platform. Just don't do it. Create vertical format content and then put it out on IGTV. Now, you can also put your Instagram live streams there, which is amazing. So if you've done a live stream, it no longer goes over to stories. It actually goes to IGTV if you click the button to do it. You have to manually do it, and you can't go back and retrieve it if you don't. So once you're done with your live stream, make sure you're kicking that over to your IGTV where it is going to live and breathe. You're going to give it a really good title, a really good caption, and you're going to have your hashtags in there because that's how people are going to find it. You're then going to make sure you kick it out to your main feed. You're going to kick it out to your Instagram stories. You can put it in guides. You can put it in your highlights from your stories. Like, great things you can do with this to repurpose, but we'll talk about repurposing. You want to make sure that you're aware of your cover image. It is vertical, baby, which means in your Instagram TV or IGTV feed, you're going to see all these vertical images. But when you kick it out to your main feed, it's still in that square format. So all the important stuff has to be in the square in the middle. That's really, really important. I got videos on that down below. There's templates, like I got you covered when it comes to this, but just keep in mind it should match your main feed because you're putting it in your main feed to get more life out of this and get bigger reach. So you want to make sure it fits with that. You could potentially do a different style of image for your reels, but again, you're putting it on your main feed, so it's going to stand out. So make it blend in, make it fit, keep any important information in that center square, and you'll be good to go. And then fill out the rest of that rectangle if you need to. Otherwise, have it one continuous image, and you're good to go. And so your IGTVs are great for longer form video content. You can show previews on stories and on your main feed, which is incredibly helpful. And you can then put this as a strategic part of what you do. So I recommend doing an IGTV video once a week. This is great, and it doesn't have to be long. It can be a minute and a second, truly. It can be a minute and 2 seconds. Just a little bit longer, because otherwise it's going to send it to your main feed. So anything longer than a minute is going to go to your IGTV. I recommend about 1 to 7 minutes for this, and you're going to put out some behind the scenes or some educational thing. You're going to answer a question. You're going to do something once per week and then kick it out to the other parts of the platform. And then if you're live streaming, you're also going to save it to your IGTV to build up your video bank there. There are playlists there that you can add your content to. So if you're doing weekly Q&As, you can put it all in a playlist. If you are doing something to onboard them into your business, you can show them the step by step of what you're doing. If you're teaching them different tactics, you can have a playlist. So for me, maybe I would have a playlist about teaching Instagram strategy, and I would have one for teaching TikTok strategy, and I would have one for teaching YouTube strategy. And I can put them in playlist form so that people can then watch through them should they want to. And it kind of sends it out to people, which I theorize if people are following your content and they're engaging with your content, the next time you add something to that playlist, if they see that someone has already watched your videos on candle making and you've added it to your candle making playlist, they will probably show it to those people because they've already shown an interest in those particular topics. So that's a great way to help the algorithm out, knowing who they should be showing your content to. But I highly recommend taking advantage of IGTV because they've just said, they've announced that they are going to be working on monetizing IGTV. Not a lot of people are taking advantage of IGTV yet, which means if you can establish your place in it, you're going to make more money on the long run of this because they're working on monetizing it. So build up your audience for it now, because they'll be there when the time comes to then make some money off of that content that you are creating. This is a great way to invest your time right now. Get it in your schedule so that it is old hat when you get there and you don't have to stress about figuring out how to create content when the time comes. If you're using IGTV, let me know. Now, you know live streaming is one of my favorite things ever. I run Livestream Action Plan, and so I love talking about live streaming whether or not you're comfortable on camera. And if you need resources on this, livestreamactionplan.com will give you everything you need to know, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, you like being on camera, you don't like being on camera, how to do live streaming without being on camera, I got you covered over there. So if you need education on that and help on that, livestreamactionplan.com is going to be the place to go. But let's talk about live streaming here on Instagram. So the first thing to keep in mind is that there is a specific amount of time that does and does not work. You got to keep in mind when you're live streaming, shorter is better. You don't want a lot of fluff. You don't want a lot of extra things because people will leave if they're seeing that, especially on the replay. The majority of your people will not show up live. Please don't panic if no one shows up to your live stream. but you will get more eyes on your replay. So focus on that. When you jump into having your live stream conversation, you need to start right off the bat. There is no waiting for people to show up. There's no stalling for people to arrive. We're not babbling over our words. We are there with a clear, concise reason because people on the replay are going to be seeing this from the start as if it were a video. Don't waste their time. If you stall, they're not going to stay. And remember, the majority of your views come from your replay people. So please do not stall and waste their time. Get right to the point. You can reiterate yourself later if you need to. You're going to go and do this with a purpose. Always have something to talk about. If you're doing a Q&A, source questions early or jump in with, here's some questions I frequently get. You want to make sure you've got content prepared and ready to go so that you can speak directly to the people on the replay and people jumping in. Remember, people are seeing your feed, and if they do not see your live feed as being interesting when they just glance at it, they're going to hightail it out of there. So you want to be engaging from the very start. You do want to make sure that you are talking very clearly, very well from the beginning, because people will be jumping in a little bit late, which is really important because you need to be aware of the timing issue with this. The algorithm does kick out your feed and it notifies people that you're live, but not immediately. It usually takes a good 5-10 minutes for people to show up to your live streams unless they know you're going live at that time and are already waiting to join you. So you have to make sure you've got enough content to cover that time on your own, because you will likely be on your own for that duration. So you want to make sure that you've got something valuable that you can offer right off the bat. But then is long enough to then continue that conversation once people start to show up. So after 10 minutes, when you start to have people join you, you're going to need to be able to have that conversation. And if you need to repeat some things, that's okay. Don't do it in its entirety, but give the highlight reel. They can go back and watch the replay later. And if they find your content valuable or entertaining, they will go back and find it later. So you want to make sure that you are staying long enough to engage people. I usually say 15 minutes is your absolute minimum for what you should be planning to spend on a live stream. Now, if you can keep it between 15 minutes and 30 minutes, you're going to be pretty good. But sometimes you will go over, and that's okay. People in the moment will stay with you if you have engaging content. If you're doing things that matter to them, they'll stick around. And if you're using the availability to bring a guest on stage, so you can bring one person up on screen with you at any given point, you might go longer because you're doing an interview or a Q&A or whatever it is, you're introducing them to somebody. So you want to make sure that you are prepared for a full hour. Now, there was a time that Instagram was just an hour. I've noticed recently they're letting us go more than an hour. So if you need to go a little more than an hour because you've got a really cool guest or you're doing something really cool or you're teaching something, maybe you're doing an educational like cook with me class and you actually have to do like longer than that, that's okay. If you are doing something instructional where they're doing it with you, longer is fine, whatever. But if you're just chatting, if you're just teaching things, keep it around 15 to 30 minutes. That is usually optimal when it comes to this. And remember, how long your replay is does affect how many people will watch through it. So just be aware, keep things concise as possible when you're live streaming. I have tons and tons of resources on how to do this, how to do the different buttons, all those fun, fabulous things. Make sure you click on the resources down below that I've linked for you. Very, very helpful. And I want you to keep in mind that when you're done with your live stream, there are a couple things you need to do. So the first is you absolutely need to download your footage to your phone. You want to make sure you're doing this so you can repurpose it to YouTube and even to Facebook later on. Download the footage. When you download the footage, it's not going to have the running comments that came in from your viewers. If you want that, you have to tether your phone to your computer or screen record it in some way. I have videos on how to do that below. You want to save your footage so that you can repurpose it later on. If you have a guest, this is important. Listen, this is important. If you have a guest, you cannot download that footage. That is not an option. They will only allow you to do that if it's you by yourself because they don't see that they have active permission from your guest to have filmed them. So at that point, it has to live exclusively on Instagram, which means if you did not screen record it, you're in trouble. Now, you can go back and you can screen record it if you put it on Igtv, but again, you've just lost all of your comments. So keep that in mind and watch those videos. Incredibly helpful if you're using live streaming inside of your business on Instagram or anywhere. And you want to make sure that you are putting it over to IGTV when you're done. Have a really good title. Have a really good caption. Put hashtags in your caption. It matters. Then make sure you've got a cover image. Do not just pick a cover image from the clips inside of your video. You're going to look like this while you are doing it. That's not good. We don't want that. So create a cover image that goes with your main feed. Remember, when you post this to IGTV, you do get that vertical length cover image, but you also have the option, and you should be doing this without fail, posting it to your main feed. This means it needs to go with your main feed. So vertical cover image for your IGTV feed when you click over to that on your feed, but it will look in that square fashion inside of your main feed grid. So the important information needs to be kept there and should feel like it goes with the vibe of your main feed, because you are going to push it over there. So keep those things in mind and watch the video resources I have for you on how to do this. It's important. Remember, make this graphic first. Send it to your phone. Have it there in your camera roll, because you can't leave and come back. If you do that, it doesn't get posted to your IGTV feed. Don't do that. So be prepared in advance. Have everything ready to go. I even recommend copy and pasting your title and your text for your caption into a note, and then just copy and pasting into your IGTV video before you send it out and post it to your feed, because it's going to save you a lot of time and effort, and you do not risk losing that footage. IGTV repurposed live streams do really, really well, and that live stream allows you to actually engage with your people, which is incredibly important. Don't forget, you can ask for questions while you're live, give lots of calls to action, tell them what you want them to do. People are much more likely to engage with you while you are live, so ask them questions and to do things and to give you answers and opinions. You can use the question box down below, super helpful. A lot of people have the option to screen share from your camera roll. I have videos on how to do that down below, so I highly recommend, especially if you're teaching, to be doing that. You can do video and photos from your camera roll. You cannot do your live screen. Please don't be here asking me if you can game and share it on Instagram. The answer is no. You have to make sure that it's from your camera roll, but again, videos and tutorials on how to do that down below. Those blew up and went viral. So go check those out, really helpful for you. And then make sure you're giving your people quality live streams. I highly recommend picking one time per week and going live at least once a week. Same time, same place, every single week. Show that consistency and train your people to show up. So Tuesday at 10 a.m. every single week without fail, have a similar topic and train your people to show up. If you can do more than one live stream a week, go for it. It's lots of fun. Q&As are great. There's lots of different types of live streams, so check out Livestream Action Plan for more on that, but highly recommend using live streaming inside of your business. If you haven't hit the subscribe and notification bell yet, you definitely want to make sure you do, because in our upcoming 2 videos, we are going to be talking about Instagram guides and how simple it is to use them and why you really should be using them to your advantage. We're going to be talking about the frequency of your posts, how to make sure you're creating all that content in a highly effective way that saves you a ton of time and effort, and we're going to be making sure that you are all set to go. So hit the subscribe and notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video as we continue our deep dive series on Instagram and its algorithm and how to make it happy.